Welcome back to Posted Up with Chris Haynes, where I had Jerami Grant of the Denver Nuggets on. This guy is bright, very enlightening individual. We had him on last week, and we touched on numerous topics, some topics that are sure to make news, but things happen right after we recorded that pod. Things happen in society with the George Floyd tragedy and the protest that went on there. We just had to bring him back to get everything back to current, and he was more than willing to come give us some more time. So here we are with Jerami Grant. That's why you notice we're wearing different clothes and the audio is a little bit different because we had to bring him on for a second time, and I lost my microphone, so that's why the audio is going to be a little bit different or distorted. But I think you can hear me clearly, and hope you enjoy this Posted Up with Chris Haynes with Jerami Grant of the Denver Nuggets. All right, everybody, this is the Posted Up with Chris Haynes video series, and we're going to finish this second portion with Denver Nuggets forward Jerami Grant. We spoke to him last week extensively about a lot of stuff, and now we just wanted to get current and discuss some things that happened like soon after we recorded the first portion of this video series. So I wanted to make sure I got Jerami in again. Jerami, thank you, man, for coming on again, man. How's everything been? I guess for you the last 3 or 4 days.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me on again. It's been it's definitely been a lot. Definitely been a lot going on. But yeah, I'm okay. My family's okay.
So soon as we left last time, the world changed, man. Things happened. Obviously, we talked a little bit about the George Floyd tragedy in Minnesota, and then after that, protests broke out. Players have been speaking out. Players have been on marching on the front lines, man. This has been something that I just been distraught over ever since it happened. Um, so what are your emotions been like throughout this time, and what has it been? I believe you're in DC still. What has it been like in your town since all this has happened?
It's been emotionally draining, honestly. But at the same time, I think it definitely shows how we can come together as people. I want to say all 50 states protested. I want to say 18 different countries protested. So I definitely think it's showing a lot of unity throughout the world. So I mean that's great, but at the same time, I feel like we definitely got a lot of things we need to work on as a country before we can move forward.
This is the first time, Jimmy. Like we've seen, black people beaten and in a lot of instances killed, in the hands of police custody, while being arrested, different situations. But this is the first time that I remember that I can recall where it just seems like this is the tilting point where you seeing everybody outraged, not just people of color outraged about this. Why do you think that is? Why do you think like this incident, this tragedy, is what's kind of you seeing a rally cry from all walks of life?
Um, I think it's a lot of different variables that go into it. I definitely think that the world's starting to see things with social media and things like that. So it's bringing a lot of awareness to things. And I think a lot of people stepped up and spoke out. I think a lot of the big athletes that stepped up and spoke out, and it definitely helped to spark a different change. As African Americans, as Black people, we kind of push the culture. So we got a lot of eyes on us and things like that. So I think definitely us stepping up and talking about it definitely kind of showed the world what's going on.
I also do think it's the the time of day that we're in with this pandemic going on. Everybody's already frustrated with just being locked in the house all day, every
Hmm.
day. And then everybody is forced to see this. And I think it's just like you said, a bunch of variables going into why it seemed like we're getting an outcry from all different walks of life. Um, how are you like? Have I seen some players out there protesting, and to each his own. You go on the front lines and do you. Have you been tempted or contemplated, going out there on the streets?
Oh yeah, yep. Me and my family, me and my brothers, two of my brothers, my stepsister, sister-in-law, and my niece. Yeah, we went out there and protested in front of the White House. I want to say about 4 days ago. So yeah, we
Okay.
went out and protested. I think we got to see, everybody what was going on. We just wanted to support and kind of just, give everybody a voice.
How was it like for you to go out there and protest? Media and some people can take the few that are doing looting and try to say that all people are behaving recklessly. How was your experience being out there on the front lines?
Ours was peaceful. We did a peaceful protest. We went, I want to say around 2 o'clock, from like 2 to 5. Everything was definitely peaceful. Nobody was doing anything to provoke any police or anything like that. I think the biggest thing for us, I think we just wanted our voices to be heard. I think it's definitely falling on deaf ears as a president and things like that. So I think we just went out there, we did that, but at night, that's when looting and things like that start. But as of late, it hasn't really been anything too bad. I think the police are definitely provoking us, and and the white people too. They're protesting with us as well. So I think it's being provoked.
This will be my last question on this, Jeremy. Has there been anybody that's came out in support of what we go through as Black people out there? Has there been anybody that has spoken out that you were just shocked, like, whoa, he he said that? He came out, speaking on behalf of of his family, and just being an advocate for us. Like, did anybody surprise you?
Um, Not really, not really. I think, like you said, the situation it definitely calls for it. It almost demands for it. A lot of tension built up. President been, Trump been in office for a while. And then also, like you said, the pandemic and a lot of different variables. So I think it definitely called for everybody to speak up. And I think even if people might not wanted to speak up, they definitely feel the pressure.
hmm All right. Well, Jeremy, now we know the NBA is back. The owners approved the 22 team format to go there in Orlando. Man, overall, are you happy with the way things turned out?
Uh, I mean, it's definitely a tough schedule, but at the end of the day, it's our job. So we gotta back in shape, get ready to go out there and play.
Do you feel like, if any team, do you feel like people are saying, well, this is going to be an asterisk situation? Whoever wins the championship is going to be asterisk just because of the conditions and all that. Do you feel that way, or do you feel like when players are out there competing, like they're going to respect the process and how they got it done?
Yeah, I definitely think a lot of people are saying that. For me, I wouldn't really put an asterisk on it. I think when we get on the court against each other, I think the true competitors, the competitive side, will come out regardless of if they're fans or not. So I don't think there should be an asterisk. I think some people definitely do feed off the fans a lot more, and that's definitely a source of energy that you can use. But at the same time, playoffs comes, I feel like, your competitive edge should just come out.
All right, speaking before I let you go, but speaking of that source of energy, there's been topics about home court advantage. Like, how can you guys are third seed as of right now? How can you guys have a home court advantage going over in Orlando? There was a whole bunch of scenarios played out. Whatever. Do you have any suggestions on how there can be a home court advantage for a team?
I don't really. I don't really. This is a unique situation. That's definitely big though. It's definitely big for like teams like us. Our home court advantage is huge.
No problem. Yeah.
And a lot of other teams as well. But it's a situation that that we've been put in, so we gotta make it work.
Well, Jeremy, man, that's all I have for you, man. I'm sorry about doing a two-parter with you, man, but like society took on a life of its own and things that were beyond our control. But I definitely appreciate you coming on and making sure we're able to stay current and fresh on this pod, man. You definitely were insightful all throughout, man. It's one of the best ones. So, man,
Thank
thank
you.
you for your time.
Thank you for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Posted Up with Chris Haynes podcast, another quarantine edition here, as we're still in this pandemic and we're trying to hopefully get out of this thing soon. But first and foremost, we hope everybody is staying safe and continuing the social distancing as we kind of ease out of this process and get back to some form of normalcy. But on today's episode, I have a pleasure, first time I've had him on, Jerami Grant of the Denver Nuggets. Man, this is a guy who I watched from afar, from, in Philly, the days in Philly, to just trying to make his name, and to now being one of the lethal reserves we have in this league. And, he definitely is a starter on a lot of teams, man. And Jerami Grant, man, first of all, just thank you for coming on. And how's the family? How are you dealing in today's time right now?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And definitely tough times right now. I guess it's a new norm, as a lot of people say, just with COVID and things like that, not being able to get out the house and stuff. But my family's safe, so I'm blessed. I thank God every day for that.
Okay, that's what's up. And I want to let you know, Jerami, I'm not trying to show you any disrespect. There's certain people homes, when you walk in their homes and you have a hat on, they say take your hat off, man. You disrespect, take that hat off. I can't take this off, Jerami. It's looking rough under here, man. So I apologize for you not used to this quality of professionalism that you're used to, man. I'm giving you the best I got with what I have to work with, man.
It's all good. It's all good, man. I know COVID got us all looking kind of rough.
Oh man, yeah, some worse than others too, man. So I want to say, like, how has it been for you just to practice time and be able to try to get a decent workout in? What's been your daily ritual since we've been on this hiatus?
So I've been able to get into a gym, whenever I can, at least 3 or 4 times a week. And I've been able to work out, at the beginning. It was definitely tough for anybody to get anywhere. But I think as time went on, I've been able to get into a gym by myself and, just work out, try to stay in shape as much as possible. It's definitely been tough. And, nobody wants to catch the virus or anything like that. So I've been extremely careful not to get it from me and my family.
So you're back in the DC area right now. When you're working out and training, I talked to, who was that I was talking to? It was CJ McCollum. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you guys, it seemed like we're starting to find out now that the NBA is going to restart. We just don't know in what capacity and how. But as you're training during the unknown period, how are you training? Are you training like it's the off season, or are you training like you would be doing, during the season?
It's been a bit of a mix. It's been, for me, just trying to maintain, but at the same time, you got to go a little bit harder because game time conditioning is completely different than workout conditioning. So it's been a mix. It's been a mix of both, a lot of skill work and then conditioning as well.
So we talk about skill work. I definitely have to mention your progression throughout your career. When you came in Philly, I'm not going to lie, I didn't cover a lot of Sixers games, back in those days when you were playing. But you saw the guys who had talent. And then when you were able to get on to more established teams, you started to, your talent started to grow. And one thing I got really impressed by or surprised by was the 3-point ball. Was that something you added to your game? Or was that something like you felt that you always could do, you just wasn't given the opportunity?
I would say a little bit of both. I always felt, that I did have the ability to shoot the ball and things like that. But my progression throughout my career has been pretty slow, I guess you can call it a late bloomer. Throughout my career, whether it's high school, college, things like that, it's always been just me growing at my own pace. And I definitely felt like I had the ability to shoot. I think most of it is confidence, just being able to go out there and take the shots rather than, being nervous to take them and things like that.
Yeah, round for last 4 or 5 years, shooting around 40%, close to that clip from 3. And I used to, I didn't know what position you were, coming out of college or even starting the NBA career. You was a second round pick. Did you feel like you should have been drafted higher? Like how was that process for you going into the draft and the outcome?
I definitely felt like I should have got drafted higher. But at the same time, I feel like everybody feels that way, you know. But I think that helped me come into the league with a chip on my shoulder. Just knowing that I'm going to work extremely hard, even harder than I normally work, because I had something to prove, and I still have something to prove. So I definitely use that as a chip on my shoulder to me to this day. Even though it's been 6 years, since I've been in the league.
Yeah. What was it about that, Jay? Like, what was it about that time? Do you think teams felt like they didn't know what position you were? Or do you think they questioned if you can develop an outside shot? What do you think it was the reason why you fell to that, at that point in the second round?
I definitely think it was they questioned my shot. And like you said, they didn't know what position I was. In college, we played the 2-3 zone, so they wasn't sure if I can, guard the way I guard and things like that. I think in college, my sophomore year, I took 1-3, I took 1-3 my sophomore year. So they definitely were skeptical. Even when watching the workouts, I did what I was supposed to do in most of my workouts and things like that. But I think with me, it was almost like, oh yeah, he's doing good in the workouts, but it might be fluke, So I don't think they, a lot of teams didn't really have confidence in me. And I think that helped me. That helped me to just work extremely hard.
A lot of, I wouldn't say fans tend to forget about that period, but going back to the Sixers days when, they were just recycling a lot of players from the G League and a lot of players that, you were part of that time. What was that experience like for you?
It was tough, man. It was stressful, but at the same time, it was a blessing. I got a chance to be on the court early in my career. And then you can't really get that in many places, especially coming in as a second round pick. But at the same time, it was stressful. I never been on a losing team in my life, so to speak. So to go on a team where we were the worst team in the NBA, or arguably the worst team in the NBA, it was tough, man. It was stressful, but at the same time, God works in mysterious ways and helped me get to me where I am today.
No doubt. It definitely was a benefit for you. Certain guys are able to use that time and build a case to get better opportunities elsewhere. But I got to correct you, Jay. You wasn't arguably the worst team. You were the worst team.
Yeah, you're definitely right. Yeah, for sure.
Jay, so, you fast forward to today, man, and I see, Will Barton, that's a good friend of mine. I covered him my early days when I used to cover the Blazers before I, became a national writer. He talks about you and how much energy that you provide for the team and just the versatility that you have. And look, I don't know if people notice, we're in a pandemic and the season is going crazy, but Denver at one point, you guys were up there, number one at certain points. You're number 3 right now. How did this affect you guys as a team with this sudden halt of games and just not knowing if you're going to come back? Like the chemistry, is there a concern there from you guys' standpoint?
I don't think it's a concern. I think everybody locks in when we have to. We got a bunch of young guys and we do a lot of joking and stuff, but when it's time to buckle down, I think everybody gets serious. And I think, especially going into now, however they kind of make up the schedule, I think we'll be ready. I think it'll definitely take a few games to, get our rhythm back and things like that. But after we get our rhythm, I think we'll be fine.
Why do you think it is? I asked Will this, I've asked Gary Harris this as well, but see what you say. Why is it that people sleep on Denver? When you guys' record is always up there with the top, especially last couple of years. Why do they tend to leave you guys out, especially when you're talking about the top Western Conference teams?
I would probably say experience. We don't have like huge stars. So, people don't like to talk about teams that don't have like huge stars, even though we do have, Jokic, who is a huge star. But he's not a tremendous personality. You know, I think a lot of people like to talk about that, and also, you know, just track record. You know, we do great. You know, or they've been doing great regular season and things like that, but in the playoffs, you know, I feel like we got to prove ourselves in order for people to respect us more.
No doubt. And that's why I want to ask you about this, because you're in a tricky situation, Jay. I know people don't like to talk about their contract, but you've clearly outplayed your contract. You have I know some players, I ain't gonna name their names, but I know some players who've earned a pay raise, right? And they're like, what's the point of me coming back this season? Well, you know, I could jeopardize my worth and my value. I've already proven what I can do. You have a player option, you know, decision to come up at the end of the season. Has your future, as it becomes to your personal individual contract and everything, has that been something you've thought about? How this pandemic has kind of changed things? Has it kind of changed your thought process as you go into that?
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and lie. You know. Being a potential free agent, I got a player option. So being a potential free agent this upcoming summer, and like you said, you know, me just, you know, playing to the level that I'm playing at, surprising a lot of people and things like that. You know, I definitely think about, you know, trying to figure out, you know, what I'm going to do next season, whether it's, you know, come back or not. It's tough though, you know. It's tough with all this going on. It's hard to even gauge, you know, what's going on. The salary cap might drop, you know. Mm-hmm. It might drop a lot, it might drop a little bit. So I think everything just kind of hangs in the balance of like, you know, what the owners are going to do, what the NBA is doing with the rest of the season.
For fans that might know this, every time I report or any reporter reports on like player option news and things like that, a lot of times the fans who aren't so too much equipped on how this works, just because a player opts out doesn't mean he's not going to re-sign with that team. You know what I mean? It just gives that player more options, more flexibility to make decisions. So I got to ask you this. I put you on the spot, Jim. Are you leaning towards becoming a free agent this summer? Are you leaning towards staying, leaning towards staying in that contract for that, you know, the final year? Where are you leaning towards, Jay?
I'm definitely not leaning towards picking up the player option. Like you said, I feel like I definitely outplayed. I outplayed the $9 million that I'm making each year right now. But at the same time, you know, I'd love to come to, you know, to a conclusion or something like that with Denver. It just depends on, you know, what we discuss and negotiate when the time comes.
No doubt. Your role, Jay, you know, you're a starter. You're starting material, period. I mean, there's no disputing that. I remember Will Barton, when he was going through his contract situation, he wanted to be a starter. That was it. That was his thing. He wanted to be a starter. And I know Lou Williams, you know, he's emerged into this six-man superstar, but he came out this last season like, hey, it wasn't like somebody asked me to come be a starter, because I would have chose to be a starter, you know, but I'm going to do what I want to do. As far as you go, does it matter does it matter your role as long as you're playing, or do you have aspirations to be a starter?
I definitely feel like I have aspirations to be a starter. I think right now, my team needs me to come off the bench, so like I'm willing to do it, you know. But in the future, you know, I feel like if you don't have aspirations to be a starter, you're not truly growing, you know. So, you know, I want the best for myself at the end of the day. But at the same time, right now, I'm definitely comfortable in my position, doing whatever my team needs me to win.
Okay, now Jay, I gotta jump into this, man, because we haven't had any basketball of late, and everybody has fell in love with the Jordan documentary that's came out. Have you gotten to see any of it or see the whole thing? You saw it? All right. With that being said, for those of you who don't know, this is Jerami Grant. He's the son of Harvey Grant. Harvey Grant is the twin brother of Horace Grant. Horace Grant played with Michael Jordan. Horace Grant has some comments, some remarks about the documentary. But first, let me get your take. Now, you were born in 1994, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, and that was probably the heyday of your uncle and your pop's time. What do you remember from that? Do you remember anything from their playing career?
Yeah, I actually remember a lot. They took me a lot of places. I remember, meeting Jordan, meeting Kobe and Shaq, going to, a lot of my dad's games with my mom and my brothers and things like that.
So when you go back to the Jordan documentary, how did you feel about it? The whole, in its totality, what did you take away from it?
I feel like it depends on what you was looking for.
Okay. Go ahead. Do tell, explain.
Hey, I mean, for me personally, I feel like it was great to be able to see the insight of Jordan and the Bulls era, because not really being able to watch it growing up, like I was born in 94. They finished 98, 99. Yep. So it was like, I didn't really get a chance to actually live through that era, I was extremely young. So, I wasn't really paying attention to things like that. I meet Michael Jordan. I didn't even know it was Michael Jordan, so like stuff like that. But, I think it was great to be able to watch that stuff. But, I don't know. I'm always going to side with my family. You know what I mean? Like, you know how it is. I'm with my aunt all the way.
No, I understand. Horace didn't like how he was portrayed in that or came off as the snitch for a story and things of that nature. Did you have a different, just watching that and watching your uncle's remarks after the documentaries aired, did it cause you to think differently of Jordan?
For sure. I mean, I wouldn't say differently of Jordan. I think watching the documentary and knowing his track record, I always looked at Michael Jordan as an extreme competitor and, and the greatest player ever played the game. And I think watching the documentary and seeing my uncle's comments after didn't change my view of Michael Jordan in that sense. People are who they are, regardless of, everything on the outside. So, I mean, it didn't really change how I thought about Michael Jordan or how I think about Michael Jordan. He's still, to me, the greatest player to ever play the game and one of the toughest competitors to ever play the game. But at the same time, I'm going to side with my uncle. Like, at the end of the day, like, whoever puts the documentary together, they get to, shape it however they want. So, in a sense, if he wanted to make himself look like, whatever it was, I mean, that's what he was going to do. And whoever he wanted to, put down, he's definitely going to put down. So,
yeah, no, I get that. Thanks for answering that question. I know that was tough, Jay. You knew it was coming, man.
Yeah, I mean,
I had to go there. So have you played with anybody? You seen how Jordan gets down in practice, how his way of motivating players and getting teams, he goes at them pretty hard. I know there's different ways. I think Kobe was like that in a similar way. Have you played with anybody close to that type of leadership style?
For sure. Russell Westbrook.
Russ is like that,
I played with Russ, and yeah, he always lit a fire under me.
Give me an example. Yeah. Give me an example. Tell me a story or so. When something like that happened.
Just from the day I stepped in, he lit a fire under me because I was very timid. Confidence was like wishy-washy. I just got traded and stuff like that, and he'd pass me the ball. I wouldn't shoot it. Sometimes I'd be hesitant. He always scream at me, shoot the effing ball, and stuff like that. So like, for me, like. That's why. That's my brother. Like me and Russ are extremely close, and I think he definitely seen potential in me. He felt like I could definitely help the team win and things like that. So, just for him to do stuff like that, I think, I love it. I'm gonna go back at we're gonna go back and forth and stuff like that. But like at the end of the day, if he's just trying to help me, I'm with it. So like me and Russ for sure. Russ definitely. had that mentality, or still has that mentality to this day.
And I guess that shouldn't be surprising to me. He is Jordan Brand. He is with Jordan Brand.
Yeah.
that makes sense. Initially, when he was going at you, was there? Did you feel like did you take it personal at all at a certain point before you grew into taking it, or how did you handle it early on?
No, I didn't take it personally because it was. I think Jordan was a little different. I think Jordan was a little bit more aggressive. Like it was more. From watching the documentary, it was a little bit more, spiteful things he would say here and there. But Russell was more constructive criticism. It was like this is like a tough love type. If he really felt like you had the potential, he was going to push you in his way. So like for me, I never really took to it in the wrong way. Because I feel like I needed that to move forward, and I think it definitely helped me. To this day, I still have gems that he told me and stuff.
This is the first time I've gotten to talk to you extended time. I've interviewed before, but extended time. I'm very impressed with your range. Not to say that I didn't expect much, Jay, but I'm really impressed, man. That's just to know that a brother like that, man, well-rounded, beyond sports, articulate, man. I love this, man. I tell you, come from real good stock. And I want to bring this up real quick before you go. What was it like growing up? Kids that had parents that played in the NBA, and then there's a light shine on them as kids to live up to the expectation, or at least make it to the league. The same thing. Did you have that pressure? Did you feel any of that coming up?
Yeah, it was, growing up, they always going to compare you to your dad, or my dad and my uncle, and then my brothers, So I got 2 older brothers and a younger brother. So it was always a lot of comparisons. So it was a lot of competition. But somewhere around a young age, I I was able to, brush it off and not feel the pressure of being compared to my dad or my uncle or my oldest brother or my older brother. And I think once I got through that, I was okay. But at the same time, just being in the family that an NBA family, I know a lot of kids do feel the pressure and it kind of breaks them down. So, but I'm thankful that I was able to get through that.
No doubt, man. You getting through that, man. You only, 25, 26, man?
26, yeah.
26, man. Come on, man. You guys should. The sky's the limit for you, man. And like I said, I've seen you progress, and because there was a time where I would see you shoot the 3 early in the career, and I'd be like, okay, no, that's not. Now you wide open on that thing, man. It's like you're a dual threat, man. Like how can they guard that? You know what I'm saying? You go come up, you go by them for smash, and you're athletic, and you jumping up and down like a ping pong. So I love watching you play, man. And so before you go, I have to ask you about this, man. You're an artist, is what I hear, man, and you got a clothing line going on. How long has this been about, and how did this come about?
I think at a young age, my oldest brother, he used to draw and teach me how to draw and things like that. So I used to sketch, Dragon Ball Z characters and stuff like that. Just having fun and stuff like that. And eventually, I took a bunch of breaks and stuff like that. But eventually, I got to the point where I wanted to try different canvases and stuff like that. So I used to try to paint on jean jackets and things like that. And a lot of people, just started telling me, they liked it and stuff like that. They wanted me to make them for them and stuff like that. So eventually it just came to, I might as well start selling them. So it got to that point. And then fashion has always been, for me, a way to, express yourself as well as art. It's a different form of art. So, yeah, that's pretty much my inspiration for it. So
you have a clothing line. What is it called?
Yeah, clothing line is called Our Generation with an H, so HOUR Generation. And we haven't released anything yet. We're putting the website together, and stuff will be out within the next few weeks.
So a lot of people are into fashion. They're definitely, but it's rare that I've seen a player into creating the fashion. I know Westbrook, he comes out and puts a lot of things together. I don't agree with a lot of it, but he puts it together. It's art, it's fat, but you're like you're going to be involved in creating this art. Are you able to do things like, Damian Lillard, he raps on the side and does things, in between games, writing lyrics. Are you able to hone your craft in that area during the season, during the confines of the season?
Yeah, I would say my main focus is definitely basketball. But we have a lot of downtime, as NBA players and stuff like that. Most of it goes towards basketball, watching film and stuff like that. But the mental break, I think everybody needs a mental break, and I think when I have my mental break, is usually goes to the creative side, whether it's sketching and stuff like that. So a lot of ideas and stuff, pops in my head, things like that. So I definitely think I can do a little bit of both, but without obviously taking any focus off of basketball.
No, for sure. And no, Jim, man, look, man, thank you, man. This has been a great, well-rounded interview, man. I learned a lot about you, and like I said, man, I wish you nothing but success with your career, with this upcoming season restarting. Hopefully everything goes smooth, but you personally, man, for your situation, because like I said, you've earned your payday, and hopefully it gets to that point, man. But I can't, when you need promotion, helping with when this clothing line gets up off the ground, man, let us know, man. We do what we can.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.